All right, though we're just over a month removed from the Supreme Court's decision overturning Roe v. Wade, according to a recent report from the Guttmacher Institute, which is a pro-abortion group, close to 60% of abortion clinics in states with strict abortion laws have already shuttered their doors. You know, we certainly celebrate this good news. This is something that's been years in the making, but we also know what the abortion industry is doing. They have been pivoting to pushing chemical abortion pills through the mail. Now, this comes despite the severe health risk that these pose to the mothers. Joining me now to discuss this is Mississippi State Senator Joey Fillingane. He co-sponsored post-Roe pro-life protection law, which went into effect following the Supreme Court's Dobbs decision, and he serves as the 41st District Senator for the state of Mississippi. Senator, welcome to Washington Watch.
Thank you so much for having me, Tony. It's an honor to be here.
Well, you know, you sponsored, thanks. I appreciate you being here, sharing this with us, and being forward thinking. And that's what I want to talk about. I mean, you sponsored Mississippi's trigger law in 2007. I have to think that you are extremely grateful and gratified to see that it's now in effect in a post-Roe nation.
Absolutely. We praise God for the result. We don't know, how many children's lives will be saved, but we know everyone is precious in God's sight. And back in 2007, when we first started down this road, we were mocked and made fun of, and people said, you're wasting taxpayer dollars passing a bill that's so outlandish as to think that Roe v. Wade would ever be overturned. But yet in 2022, here we are. And thank God that we did not listen to the naysayers and instead pushed forward. And we have a very strict law. Our only abortion clinic in the state of Mississippi has now not only closed their doors, they've dropped their lawsuit that they had previously filed challenging the trigger law and have sold their building. So we're excited, we're thankful, and we're humbled that God would use this in the way that he has.
Yeah, and I just want to point out, kind of on a related note that I'm going to talk about later in the program, Jackson, Mississippi is the one clinic that was shut down. Also, Jackson, Mississippi has one of the highest homicide rates in the country, certainly in Mississippi, but also in the country. And there's a correlation, I believe, between that. And I think hopefully now we're going to see cities like Jackson move away from those high homicide rates as the state has embraced life. But other states that have followed suit with trigger laws that have strong pro-life laws, Alabama, Arkansas, Georgia, Missouri, Oklahoma, Ohio, South Carolina, South Dakota, Tennessee, and Texas. The Guttmacher Institute has looked at these states and have found that 60% of abortion centers have now shut post-Dobbs. So, the laws are working, but as you know, the abortion clinics and the abortion industry never rest. So they're moving now to these chemical drugs through the mail that endanger the lives of these mothers. So what's next in terms of the policymakers? What policies do we put in place to protect mothers?
You hit the nail right on the head. I think our next battle in this war will shift now to the mail order abortions, where you get on a teledoc, virtual meeting, and the doctor in New York or Connecticut or some other place where abortion is still, legal and favored, will write a prescription for a drug, a chemical cocktail. They'll FedEx that to you at your place of residence, and you'll take that cocktail. A couple of days later, you have the abortion at home, presumably, but obviously we know that that's not a safe situation for the mother. Clearly, it violates state law. So I think our next battle and the next pieces of legislation that we'll have to look into adopting in the upcoming session in January is some sort of restriction on these medical or chemical abortions that Planned Parenthood has been very open about. This is their answer to the Dobbs case. They say, well, in certain states that you can't walk into the clinic and get your abortion, we'll just mail order you the cocktail and you'll do it at home, and good luck to you. So I think it's very dangerous precedent. It's skirting the laws of many of our states that are now in place. And so I think it's wrong on so many levels, and it's very dangerous for the mothers and for a group like Planned Parenthood, who always trumpets the health and well-being of women and mothers, to have this sort of chemical cocktail being sent to your home with no medical oversight to speak of, I think is just really showing their true colors. They don't really care about women. They only care about the abortion industry and continuing this culture of death. We have to combat that every way we can.
Yeah, the latest statistics on abortions in the country, about 52% of abortions were already being done through chemical abortions. That certainly is going to escalate after the Dobbs decision. So, Senator, one final question for you. Is this a topic that you're already discussing with your colleagues as to how to enforce state law?
Absolutely. And not only with our colleagues, but also with our attorney general and our governor's office. I mean, we have to have all hands on deck, and we have to make sure that we do everything we can legally do and to protect the unborn children, which our law has been designed to do. And I think it's working clearly, but we have to make sure there aren't large loopholes and gaps left in our coverage of the protection of unborn children. And I think the chemical and medical abortions, as you have so aptly put, is really the next battle to be waged in this abortion war in the nation and across all 50 states.
Senator Fillingane, I want to thank you for joining us today, and I want to again commend you on your leadership and forward-thinking pro-life stands that you've taken there in the state of Mississippi.
Well, thanks for your leadership and for all that you do, not only on this issue, but so many others for the Christians across this country. We're indebted to you, and we thank God for your ministry.
Well, thank you, Joe. I appreciate that.